There is a wind of change that has begun at the Tertiary Education Trust Fund and is sweeping across higher education in Nigeria. This metaphoric wind is a paradigm shift by TETFund, and its new focus is to place equal premium on content as it does on infrastructure. Research and development is at the heart of this innovative approach. Research and development, or R&D, as it's known for short, is a process intended to create new or improved technology that can provide a competitive advantage at the business, industry, or national level. The objective of the academic and institutional R&D is to obtain new knowledge which can be applied to practical uses. Industrial R&D is to obtain new knowledge applicable to Nigeria's needs that eventually will result in new or improved products, processes, systems, or services that can increase the tempo of the nation's development. Since his appointment as the Executive Secretary of TETFund, Professor Suleiman Elias Bogoro has championed this concept to the point of being nicknamed the Apostle of R&D.
The R&D acronym is very familiar to all of us, but sometimes we have to deconstruct the real essence and the purpose for R&D as a reference in the context of making research count for development. That is what R&D is all about. That for too long, besides the fact that you said in a Nigerian tertiary institution, particularly a university, for most of the time overemphasize teaching at the expense of research.
TETFund's Director of R&D and Centers of Excellence, Dr. Saliu Bakari Gire, paints a detailed picture of the Executive Secretary's vision. He is the man charged with the responsibility of ensuring the successful implementation of the R&D component of the paradigm shift.
It's about application of research findings to solve the problems of any nation, country, society, or generally people. So it's about application of research findings, carrying out applied research to solve a problem that confronts a nation, or that confronts you, that challenges development. In other words, research and development is about investing wisely in the field of applied research to solve a problem.
To have a deeper understanding of why research and development is critical to universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education, one needs to have a corresponding understanding of the paradigm shift itself.
It's about, initially, when ETF, as the name was, came into being, the immediate problem was that there was decay in infrastructure in institutions. Virtually, there were no classes, there were no laboratories, there were no lecture theaters, there were virtually nothing. The universities, as they called them, they were glorified secondary schools. And that was what ASU was using to even depict and justify their cause. Everywhere you see papers will be showing you decay and decay and decay. So when ETF came into being, naturally, the focus was these quick wins. We needed to have infrastructure to show that yes, we have iconic. Let's have iconic buildings. Let's decongest the classrooms and so on and so forth. But over time, and with the coming of the years, he talks about paradigm shift. In other words, the distinctive feature of a university from any other school, be it secondary or primary, is in the area of research. If you cannot carry cutting-edge research, then you are teaching nothing. In other words, it's research that renews teaching, that renews knowledge. And it's when you renew knowledge that you are able to teach something new. And research was nearly non-existent in the university system. That was one key challenge. And that was as a result of lack of resources, as well as the thinking then was teach, produce graduates, produce graduates, produce graduates. Universities weren't doing much more than producing graduates. Yes, they were solving this particular problem of producing graduates, manpower. But the problem of research, the problem of using the universities to drive knowledge economy, to turn around. We keep saying that we are a mono economy. We keep saying that we are concentrating more on oil, for example, than on any other thing. We keep saying that we have to diversify. But how do we diversify? You diversify through knowledge. It's when you are able to have knowledge, it's when we are able to produce. It's a product of knowledge that you are able to sell, you are able to commercialize, and you make money. So the ES paradigm shift is that, okay, let's move away, from investing more in infrastructure, and let's invest more in content. Let's invest more in research so that the outcome of research can be patented, can be commercialized, and we can become gradually a knowledge economy. If you look at the world generally, developed countries are not banking on natural resources. They're actually banking on products of research. And talk about the Asian tigers, South Korea, talk about Malaysia, talk about even China. These countries have been able to grow economically through the product of research. Some of them don't even have oil. Indonesia actually withdrew from OPEC because they didn't need to sell their oil. They've done enough. They have been able to develop such that the entire oil that they got can be utilized within their own country. So this is what the ES is looking at. That, look, we have a lot of resources, but those resources just remain resources. We just remain potentially, we keep saying we are potentially rich because we are not able to even harness and transform those resources into products and then sell them and export them and make money. That is our key. That's what he meant by paradigm shift. Let's move away from the normal, from the traditional. Let's disrupt the system, if you like. Let's accept the fact that knowledge is wealth. And actually, if you want to have sustainable economic development, you have to invest in knowledge.
One of the fundamental objectives of R&D under the paradigm shift is the emphasis on applied research, which transcends basic research. Basic research has as its objective a fuller knowledge or understanding of the subject under study, rather than a practical application thereof. As applied to the industrial sector, basic research is defined as research that advances scientific knowledge but does not have specific commercial objectives, although such investigation may be in fields of present or potential interests. Applied research, on the other hand, is directed towards gaining knowledge or understanding necessary for determining the means by which a recognized and specific need may be met. In industry, applied research includes investigations directed to the discovery of new knowledge, having specific commercial objectives with respect to products, processes, or services. But what impact has TETFund's R&D policy made on tertiary education in Nigeria so far? Dr. Bakari explains.
Normally, change is a process, and I would say change is a journey. When the ES first, in 2014, when he was appointed, he came up with this paradigm shift. But very few people, even within the TETFund, really understood where he was heading to. When he said research and development, people say, what is the distinction between research and development and research and publication, for example, and that what's new. But over time, and when by the special grace of God, he's been reinstated, he was reinstated last year, he came back with even more vigor and passion for the R&D, and this time he started by sensitizing the fund itself, because if we are the drivers of this paradigm shift, we needed to understand what it is, and he helped us to really, through engagements and series of engagements and advocacy and sensitization, we are able to understand his vision of this R&D paradigm shift. That's one. Secondly, he also engaged other critical stakeholders, especially the university system and the polytechnics, as well as the colleges of education. He set up a committee that had an interface between the university administration, the research administrators, and the fund, and we together came on the same page. We were able to understand the vision, and also not only understand, we were also able to appreciate this vision. Next, he made sure that he made substantial allocation for research, for problem-solving research, the NRF in particular. Before now, the fund had only about, let's say, 3 billion naira for almost 10 years for problem-solving research. But in 2019 alone, he was able to recommend to the BOT, and it was approved by Mr. President, that we got 5 billion naira for 2019 alone to fund problem-solving, cutting-edge research across the country. And as a result of that, we were able to fund 128 research proposals. Most of those research proposals, if they are able to be completed, they are going to turn around, the research in this country. There are a lot of, especially about 40% of the research proposals we funded have to do with research in pharmaceutical areas, in medicine, in climate change, in security, and so on and so forth. So the idea is, at the end of it, the outcomes of those research will lead to further upscaling of their research findings, and also, to some extent, we'll be able to patent and even begin to commercialize and sell our research outputs to the world. Yes, and in 2020, the ES has again recommended to Mr. President through the board and the Honorable Minister, and it was approved. We have upscaled our research grants, again, allocation from 5 billion to 7.5 billion naira. Presently, we've advertised for concept notes, and we have received an unprecedented number, about 5,814 research proposals have been received, and they are now being assessed for possible funding. So this is one way of, this one approach. Another intervention that I think is very impactful is that we realize that because majority of academics in our tertiary institutions, especially in polytechnics and colleges of education, but also even in the universities, they need their capacity to be built, to be enhanced in the area of carrying out applied problem-solving research, because they've not been doing it for long. And because we are now saying you must carry out this research, so the fund has organized training, what I call train-the-trainer workshops in some of the best universities in the world, in US and in Cambridge, where our senior academics can interact with other senior professors and academics in Cambridge and other world-class universities, so that they share experiences. They are trained on how to carry out research, and not only how to carry out research, but they are trained on how to even get research grants.
To ensure success, TETFund, under the leadership of Professor Suleiman Bogoro, has adopted the triple helix model. This innovation refers to a set of interactions between academia, industry, and government to foster economic and social development.
Triple helix is just like saying we are building a relationship on there will be three legs, just like the word triple. One leg is the academia that are supposed to do the research. The other leg is the industry that is supposed to now uptake the outcome of research into products and services. and then the other leg is government that will bring the two together. Government has to come to bring the academia and the industry together so that we now are able to actualize that knowledge economy that I was talking about. The knowledge is supposed to be from the universities. The universities are supposed to be hub of knowledge. They are supposed to actually be the hub for startups, for ideas, at times we call them crazy ideas. But those crazy ideas, you have to disrupt your thinking and come up with those crazy ideas. And then those ideas will now be tested by the university community and see the potential. And that potential will be will be funded by the industries so that they bring out some products out of this. As an example, maybe 200 years ago, if someone said that there will be a flying object, that will carry people from one place to another, someone would just say, this is a crazy person, just waste your time, it's just crazy. But, in the early 1914 or so, the brothers came up with that idea, and it was processed over time and time. And today we have all sorts of, not only airplanes, we also have drones. Today you have even drones that even deliver messages for, what do you call them, for DHL, for whatever. You today have all those. But maybe 200 years ago, if someone thought of that, they just forget about this. So the universities are there to think about all those ideas that you might not think will even work. And the industry is there to uptake whatever that come out of that university that will now become a product that may be sold to public. We have a population of about 200 million today. If you produce anything and any industry decides to put little money into it, to develop it and sell it, you can imagine the huge sum of money that will come to this country, to the university, to the individual that develops it, and to government that will get a tax through taxation. So that is the idea. The idea is that the triple helix is, look, government has been investing money in universities, and universities are supposed to do three things: teaching, research, and community service. But they have been doing more of research. It was more of teaching than research. And you cannot carry out effective community service without research. So they are not also doing little of community service. You have the industries in Nigeria that today they go out of this country, outside this country, to give money, for research, because they are not sure of the research product, the research outcome in Nigeria, because they have not been tested. Now, and government is there, standing alone, that keeps saying the universities must produce something for this country. The universities must help develop the economy of this country. The same government is also saying the industries, we must have indigenous industries. Industries must evolve and solve our problems. But the government has not has not brought these two together. So TETFund is now the government, or representing government, that is trying to bring these two together so that we activate that relationship and see how we develop our country through knowledge.
TETFund's strategy is already bearing fruit, as it has placed Nigeria on the list of nations that are investing heavily on research to conquer the greatest challenge in the world today, the COVID-19 pandemic and other likely future challenges.
The ES is like he was anticipating a problem was coming. And he kept saying that, what if? But that was what he always says, what if? So what if there's a problem in this country? There is something abruptly that happens that requires research to help solve our problems. Do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the superstructure? He always asked that question. And all of a sudden there is this COVID-19 pandemic, he thought over it and said that instead of providing palliatives, let's see how we can solve this problem. Is there no way we can fund research to develop vaccines? Is there no way we can fund research to see the trend of COVID-19 in Nigeria and how it might affect us as a black people and as leaders of a black African country? Is there no way? These were the questions he was asking. And of course, we have a structure. We have the National Research Fund Screening and Monitoring Committee in place. We have our resources that's meant to carry out problem-solving research, as I said in the first place. So he quickly deployed that. We called for world-class research proposals that will solve various aspects of COVID-19. And the response was very quick and also striking. We received about 14 different proposals, and they were subjected to peer review assessment. Those proposals were assessed, and we found so far 6 of the 14 research fundable. And as I'm talking to you now, we've already awarded research grants to those 6 proposals, and we've also released first tranche of payment. We're expecting the outcome of we're expecting progress report so that we give them second tranche payment. So this is how we are reacting, if you like, or we are responding to COVID. That's one way. Another way is we are also looking into collaboration and partnerships with relevant agencies in this country that have a duty or responsibility to carry out research in pharmaceutical area and medical research. That's second area. Then thirdly, through the directive of the Honorable Minister of Education, we've already intervened in establishment of research labs, where we'll be able to enhance the testing and maybe treatment of COVID-19 in Nigeria. So we've done that, and we're still doing a lot more. Even in the area of the NRF that I just told you, about 40% of research proposals we received focus on COVID-19, and we are likely to sponsor a majority of them.
The fourth industrial revolution is already here. Technologies formerly found only in the realm of science fiction are now part of our daily lives, or wait just over the horizon of the very near future. Nigeria must claim its place in this bold new world if it's to remain relevant, and TETFund is a key player.
I'm very much excited because the future of TETFund is very much assured now by these revolutionary ideas that TETFund has to respond, TETFund has to be dynamic, and it has to respond to the challenge of transforming tertiary institutions, to world-class competitive universities in the world. The way we are going, let me say this, before 2014 or before 2015, none of the Nigerian universities was among top 1,000 universities in the world, going by any ranking, especially Times Higher Education Index. If you look at the THE ranking, up to 2015, none of Nigerian universities. But when the Executive Secretary came in and he said, look, we must do things differently. We must make sure that these universities are able to be competitive. They should be competitive. They should be able to be seen in the world. Today, many of the Nigerian public universities are ranked among the top 800 in the world. Yes. In fact, before he came, we are not even counted among the top 10% in Africa at all. Even in Africa, the Nigerian education system, the university system has gone down so low that even in Africa, you see people rushing to Ghana, to Benin Republic for their PhDs. And if you ask them, why are you leaving Nigeria, they'll tell you the quality. Of course, it's not really true, but it also depicts something, you know? So we've been able to change that narrative, and I'm sure we're changing it forever and for better.
With TETFund support, Nigeria's higher institutions of learning can boldly go where they previously were unable to. They can seek knowledge to transform the landscape of this nation industrially, socially, and economically. That is the drive of the paradigm shift.